This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. From streaming to shopping, Prime helps you get more out of your passions. So whether you're a fan of true crime or prefer a nail-biting novel from time to time, with services like Prime Video, Amazon Music, and fast free delivery, Prime makes it easy to get more out of whatever you're into or getting into. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to learn more.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, quick take. I don't think that we should call them school shootings anymore. I think people are numb to that. I think we need to call it what it is. It's slaughtering children. It's murdering children. Also, you can take your thoughts and prayers and shove them all the way up your f***ing ass.
I'm sure you've all heard about one more of these tragedies that took place in Minneapolis today. The mayor said it best. This is not a time for thoughts and prayers. These kids were praying. The we get of like, let's lower our flags. How much more of this before we recognize that sensible gun restrictions have to be out there? Don't give me the kind of normal crap of excuses. These were kids in a church praying at a Catholic school. Is this really who we are, America?
So about the Minnesota shooting, and it brought me right back to Columbine in 1999 when I just could not get it through my head that students in America were shooting each other in schools. And this was a church inside a Catholic school. And what do you know, it was a white guy, Republican, MAGA person. What do you know? White supremacist.
And you know what? There's going to be a lot more of that coming up. You know, especially at these religious areas, you know, hey, we've had enough of your kind coming after public schools, right? It's about time, yeah, churches and Catholic schools and religious schools, it's about time they get their turn. That's what I think. That's what I think. I'm just going to sit back and watch people do it. And I'm going to laugh. I'm laughing about yesterday. You guys want to laugh about us? We're going to laugh about you.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Saturday Vibe. And what we use to open the program is a vibe that is going around certain quarters of this country. Some of the voices you heard there, two of them in particular, Senator of the United States Mark Warner, you would recognize, complaining about the BS. Another one that has horrible things to say about the idea that people are praying and thinking about what has happened. No, that's, according to him, BS. And, of course, Rosie O'Donnell with misinformation about who the shooter was. That was one of the big stories this week. And, of course, we are open to covering it. We'll be taking your telephone calls today at 800-848-9222. Also coming up on today's program, delighted, ladies and gentlemen, our own Lizzie Radabali will be here. Of course, Lizzie Radabali, the voice of her generation, Anchorette Supremo with Red Apple Media. We also will be speaking with Princess Di. Of course, that's later in the program, and America's Small Caffeinated Mom will be here as well. So we've got a full show with your calls as well at 800-848-9222. A lot going on in the world of politics. We will cover as much of it as we can. Too much to pack into one program. This is Labor Day weekend, and yes, welcome. I thought Donald Trump celebrated Labor Day weekend in an amazing fashion this week. I had this story yesterday, and I talked about it then. It comes from Government Executive is the name of the website. It's a website primarily for those who work in government. President Trump Thursday signed a new executive order targeting unions at more than half a dozen government agencies. Right after he did the Labor Day proclamation, It would ban collective bargaining at the International Trade Administration, Patent Trademark Office, Commerce Department, National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, National Environmental Satellite Data and Information Service, the National Weather Service, as well as NASA, and the U.S. Agency for Global Media. Some of these places I bet you didn't even know existed. Like the U.S. Agency for Global Media. What is that? Who is it that's doing it, and what are they doing? Things like that. Well, of course, government unions are upset. By the way, that is where most of the growth in unions has taken place in America, in the government. And you might not also know, just crossed my mind, that Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the hero of many Democrats, the New Deal. This is how the current Democrat Party has been running off Franklin Delano Roosevelt's fumes for close to a century. But Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who many regard, if you ask a lot of the older Democrats, they would tell you he belongs on Mount Rushmore, was opposed to unions in government because he saw that as not being viable and also being not serving the interest of the people of the United States. One of the things I hope that Princess Diana, if we have time, I'm going to bring up, is an article that is in the New York Times today. A little Letitia James language there. Why the Texas Democrats walkout worked. They think it worked. Yeah, worked. Also, we have, and I like this, it's not going to yield the numbers that Texas did, but it will, it is Missouri. Republican Governor Mike Kehoe on Friday announced yesterday that he is bringing Missouri lawmakers into special session so they can redistrict, so they can do new maps. Now, I think so far from what I'm reading, the yield on that map may only be one seat, but it would be the seat of Emmanuel Cleaver, who's in Kansas City, and what they're gonna do is stretch his district eastward into a rural Republican area. So he'll actually have to look for votes among Republicans. And there's another agenda here with the special session that Governor Kehoe wants to do in Missouri, which would be to come up with a constitutional amendment to make it harder to approve these citizen-initiated ballot measures. And stuff like abortion rights, marijuana legislation, stuff that gets pushed by the liberal big cities in Missouri, the blue cities in a red state, might become a little bit harder to do. People might take issue with that. There's also a lot of things going on inside the federal government this Labor Day weekend besides what is happening with the unions. EPA employees. The Trump administration has fired at least 7 Environmental Protection Agency employees. They're among a bunch that signed a letter 2 months ago criticizing the agency leadership. Now, I just find this almost amusing. Of course, there's outrage over it. There's also another one that you have these things going on at the firing that took place at the CDC that they're outraged about. You have other agencies that are going through similar turmoil. But this move to fire some of these EPA people, the EPA had placed 144 employees on leave after they endorsed a public letter release criticizing the president and the administration. They said that they would undermine the EPA mission of protecting human health and the environment. And so this is being reported today as an escalation these firings, an escalation in the administration's attempt to clamp down on dissent within federal bureaucracy. Now, I just wonder if any of you would consider, would you write a letter criticizing your employer, and release it to the newspapers? Would you, Kevin, would you just say, I think my boss is an idiot and they don't know what they're doing and they're undermining the business that we in, and put your name on it and release it to a newspaper?
I'm not even comfortable talking about this hypothetical situation with you right now. That sounds like the worst idea you could. I don't get. You have to really be sure that you are marketable to another job before you do something like that. That is. People, I don't know. No. Short answer, no. I would never do that. No. Kelvin, would you think that you were so high, you would just openly write a letter criticizing your employer and release it to a newspaper and demand that people look at you, here I am, big me, I'm going up against my bosses are a bunch of idiots, they don't know what they're doing, I know better than them? You think that you would have the onions to do that?
If I knew where I was going next, maybe, but no.
You just see what Kelvin posts about me on Twitter. It's always constantly bad-mouthing me. I'm a supervisor.
Oh, really?
No,
and you're a super... I, for the life of me, can't figure out what these people expected to happen. They're just going to write a letter, release it, and just say, okay, and have your bosses say, okay, thank you for telling us how dumb we are. Thank you for telling us that we want to undermine human health, that we want to undermine the environment. Now go back to work. Is that what they honestly thought would happen? Okay, we're going to have to take a break. I got to stack stuff that I need to get through. Federal courts, again, trying to interfere with the administration on immigration, trying to make sure that we'll get to that. Also, the tariffs, they're trying to take apart Donald Trump's tariffs. It's so much. Wow. The White Album. And, of course, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, here on Saturday. You know, Ringo Starr's copy of the White Album, he had the catalog number 000001, the first album of the White Album. He kept it in a vault for years. 35 years, more than 35 years. Well, in 2016, on this day, he put it up at auction. His vinyl copy of the White Album sold for $790,000.
But what does the White Album cost on a regular basis? Isn't it like $500,000 to buy that thing? So it's really not appreciated too much, if you ask me. It's like the most expensive album to ever buy for some reason. I guess because it's a double, but
yeah.
Good for Ringo. I'm sure he needed the money.
Ringo is among the world's, this shouldn't be a surprise. I just saw that, in fact, earlier this week, among the wealthiest drummers in history.
Well, he never stops touring. He's been on tour with the All-Star Band for like 40 years. It's really unbelievable.
Yeah. Good for you, Ringo. James Golden and Snerdley here, Saturday Morning Vibe. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. 800-848-9222. Coming right back. Don't go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, Saturday Morning Vibe. Thank you. Let's do this. Let me get to some of these other things here. I wrote an article this week for the Daily BS about this shooting that some people want to talk about it. We have Christine on the line. We'll get Christine. Just no matter what you do, don't go away. I wrote an article because there's a lot of talk about the person that committed that atrocity at the Ascension School, a church in Minneapolis this week. And of course, we know now Robert is a trans person. And immediately Jacob Frey came out, and Democrats are still railing. You heard some of the open about, and I don't mean to sound pejorative when I say railing, but they are focused on gun control, which is their normal reaction, and also being highly, highly offended that people choose to pray and to think about those and express the fact that they are thinking, they have empathy, thinking about those who are so horribly affected, the families, the children who were killed. And people, and you heard Senator Warner, we're not playing Jen Psaki today. She was off the rails. And I played that during the week, and so many others. They just seem to have this animus about people praying. There's, in fact, an article in the Times about that, but I also wrote an article because since the emphasis on this occasion happens to be about a trans shooter, another one, and recently there have been at least 5 incidents involving, over the last 2 or 3 years, these mass shootings. The impact that these medications that are necessary for what the left calls gender-affirming care. Folks, these are powerful medicines that affect your hormones, and they come with a price. They come with an emotional price, whether it's rage, whether it's depression, deep depressions, whether it's uncontrollable mood swings. How do I know? Because I took the same drug. Those drugs were never intended, by the way, for the purpose they're being used. They were intended to fight cancer. And it's pretty remarkable that aspect is not being looked at by people in position of power, and it needs to be. We'll have more on that. Whatever you do, stay right here with us. Saturday Morning Vibe, 800-848-9222. Your calls coming up as well. So, have that first cup of coffee, second cup, third cup, but whatever you do, keep it right here. And stay with us on this Labor Day weekend. James Golden, Snerdley. Don't go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Another white man, either a white teenager or a white man, killed children in a school. Not a trans person, not a gay person, not an immigrant, a white man. Yeah, I have white fatigue. I said it. I have white fatigue.
James Golden, Snerdley, we have phone calls, and I do want to get to the phones. Thank you all for calling and for holding. Let's start with my dear Christine. I have not heard from you in ages. Christine, welcome. How are you?
Hi, James. Well, I wish I could call under better circumstances, but it comes to the same problems, and I'm sick and tired of seeing it. It seems like these loners or outcasts in school, the young kids, they're being said that trans or LGBT is the coolest thing, and that comes straight from our schools. We need to eliminate social emotional learning and critical race theory from our government public schools immediately. And I have also a big problem. I see these kids are being diagnosed with gender dysphoria, and it is clear as day they don't have it. The therapists are ignoring what is their other mental health community, and they're getting rubber stamped with this gender dysphoria diagnosis. And if you're putting these kids on any sort of hormone replacement therapy, this is a recipe for disaster. We've seen it. James, I hate the term gender-affirming care. Gender dysphoria is a diagnosable medical condition. We have to confirm it. Instead, it's being affirmed, and look at all the harm it's being caused. It needs to be stopped. That's why I ran for state representative last year, even though I lost. I'm trying to get involved to be part of the solution, and we need answers now.
Now for those that have not heard Christine before, Christine, tell us about yourself a little bit. Just why?
Well, I'm a transsexual person. I'm in my late 50s. I transitioned 6 years ago. I knew who I was as a kid, but I was involved in sports. I won a national championship my freshman year in college, and I covered professional sports as in the media and competed in major professional sports events. So that's hard to come out. As time went on, the person that girl I was always had inside me wanted out. And telling my spouse a few years ago that didn't go well. I survived a suicide attempt, and the good Lord saved me. And I
now let me just stop you there, Christine. I think most of people can't even fathom when you said I wanted to let the girl. You didn't have any doubts. This was not. You lived inside this, and you say I don't think there's anything that on earth that is stronger than the experience that a person has that gives them a knowledge of self, right? This goes back to know thyself, or the other phrase that you hear in spiritual circles, which is self-realization must come before God realization. And you hear these kind of remarks, but this is something that you knew. This wasn't a fad that you wanted to go through. For you, explain if you can, and I don't know whether anybody can, what it is like to live inside of gender dysphoria.
I always felt like I was living a lie. My life was just the smiles and laughs were charades. And I think, holding off is when you're just, we're so quick, like I say, to affirm people, especially young people, as a contagion. When it builds inside of you, you know who it is, and you get sick and tired of holding it in. And it's tough for the society the way it is, especially I had a sports background to let it out and be my true self. And now because of far left policies, my life's become a political football because of the left and the way they push this.
And and you're critical of, again, the way that this is being, you didn't use the term, I'm going to use it, that gender dysphoria is now being marketed throughout society as it's some sort of fad, it's a trend, it's something do I have that right?
Yes, I see that clear as day, and I'm sick and tired of it. It's a diagnosable medical condition. We better get back to that.
It's now, some people are saying it is a mental illness. What do you say? And I don't mean to offend you with the question, but this is what's being discussed.
No, I have no problem answering the questions, James.
Okay.
If you need mental health, it is your mental health professionals that refer you to the endocrinologist to start your medication. But we need to be properly vetted. And I think especially with the younger kids, they're not doing it.
I see it as sort of a money-making industry with some of these younger kids.
Yeah, I could see that, absolutely. But it seems like the schools, too. It seems like it's a cool thing to be trans. No, living with gender dysphoria and all my life, it's brutal to live with. It's not fun and games. But that's what's being portrayed as, and to me, that's the biggest atrocity I have. And any lawmaker wants to listen to me, please. I'll tell them that I'll set them straight.
I want to talk for you a minute about the drugs. The drugs that are being used to help gender dysphoria, and in some cases to promote all of this, are really powerful. They were intended to, one of the things, if people know about prostate cancer, is one of the cancers that these drugs, that one of the drugs was designed to combat. Because what it does, it fools the body. It mimics production of testosterone in the body. So the body then, in response to that, shuts down. It says, okay, you have enough testosterone. We're gonna shut down production of testosterone. And instead, though, what this drug does is put estrogen and flood your body with estrogen. Now, what happens with that, if you're a man and you're taking this drug, your production stops, then you're flooded with estrogen, and your body responds to estrogen, the female hormone. You start, if you're a man, developing male breast. Your breast, I can tell you that from experience. You get, that's one of the first things, some of the weight gain. But what it does to your moods and what it does to your psychology is something that, I don't see how anybody could be prepared for it. Mood swings. Not to mention the hot flashes, by the way. And the hot flashes, when guys, if you have never gone through hot flashes all day, all night, you have no idea what women go through when they're going through menopause with this. You have no idea the emotional toll that this takes on a person. Can go from intense rage in a male who has to take these drugs. And I had a friend I went through treatment with when we both were going through cancer. Intense rage to the point that it ruined his life in terms of his social interactions with people. These drugs are not playthings, is my point. These are very powerful drugs. This is what adults go through. I cannot even imagine what children go through when they are taking these drugs. To me, it's just unconscionable that children would actually be put in a protocol where you have this with no life experience at all to try to even help them manage what is going on with their psychology. Christine, would you just talk to that for a few moments?
I really, did you take Lupron? What they use?
Yes.
Lupron and these, yeah, they use puberty blockers. It's also used to castrate sex offenders as well. Why? And it's being told, how many times have we told this is safe and reversible for kids pre-puberty? No. You know, I testified to the Connecticut State Legislature several times and only had one response. I said, interrupting a child's puberty is gambling with their long-term future health. Is the Connecticut Legislature on board with this? Because I'm not. And I only had one follow-up question, and all the times I testified up there at Hartford this year. You know, these elected leaders, they're part of the problem, too.
Now, let me just say one thing to you that I understand from a conversation that I had yesterday with medical professionals. Here's another issue that's happening right now, and we had better be, as a society, we had better be prepared for it. As a result of what is happening, and I think is a good thing that now some of these medical professionals are reevaluating whether they should be dispensing these powerful drugs to children. There are thousands of children around this country that have already been taking these drugs who no longer have access to them. And what that is doing to them is stirring deep concern among medical professionals. Do you have any thought about that?
They're once you go on hormone replacement therapy, there's no turning back. It only took me about 3 months to be chemically castrated. That's the way it is for life. For me, the spironolactone, which is a testosterone blocker, and estradiol, it's benefited me. But I knew what was in it before we started. I don't think enough people are. And you're letting people down a path. Now you take it away. How are we going to... Now you have to go back and treat it the other way. So you're still creating lifetime medical patients, James, of this. All because we're too quick to affirm something and not confirm it.
Christine, I love you. I love you. Thank you for being always so open about what your life has been about and what's going on with this entire issue of transgenderism. From your point of view, is you were just so brave to stand up and talk freely about your experiences. And you always do so with compassion and with trying to give people a true idea of what this is like. I think you have helped people's understanding grow tremendously, and I thank you for it.
I thank you for giving me the voice, James, to talk on the air. God bless you, and I hope you have a great holiday weekend.
God bless you too, Christine. Thank you. James Golden, Snerdley. Folks, Meryl Streep, Rush used to quote all the time, what are we doing to our children? She was testifying about them putting wax on apples, Allard, whatever it was. She was testifying, what are we doing to our children? That question needs to be asked right now. What are we doing to our children? Love Potion number 9. James Golden, Snerdley here, John McNally from The Searchers, born on this day in 1941. This, of course, their biggest one. They had needles and pins as well. But this one, their big hit, number 3, in 1941. James Golden, Snerdley. Saturday Morning Vibe continues. Don't go anywhere.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is a day to reminder to thank God today. This is my plea to President Trump to please send the National Guard to all the Democrat-led cities, especially the place I grew up in, Baltimore. You know, in the so-called black community, because I don't consider them black, I just consider them, but in certain segments of that society, they actually are proud that the city has a high homicide rate. Like, for example, you know, the YNs, they're called Baltimore Bodymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's bodies as in dead bodies. Yeah, Bodymore, they're proud of that. Or Chicago, Chirac. You know what I'm saying? Like, we actually have nicknames for these urban centers which are full of black people, and they give them nicknames because they're proud of how many black people die there every year. Yo, that's insane. Send the National Guard.
Yeah. That we have been highlighting voices actually from these cities that are affected from it, and they are not what you see on the news. Many of these voices. Let's quickly head to the telephones. Again, Tony is calling from New York. Tony, how are you?
James, I'm doing good. I was told to make it quick. I will. I did the same therapy you did, bicalutamide and Luperin in conjunction with radiation. Those drugs had such a bad effect on me. Mood swings and everything else. If there wasn't a pair of boxing gloves in my house, forget it. I'd be out of my mind. The sweating, the night sweats. I can't conceive how they could give those drugs to kids. To me, that explains it all. With these antidepressants, these anti-cancer drugs, when these kids go off these drugs, they get crazy.
Let me tell you, it's not just when they go off, and that's happening now. When they are on them You are an adult going through this. This is one of the points I was making. You are an adult and you had, okay, I'm going through this. I need to be proactive and do some things. Whether it's talk to a professional, whether you said you had the boxing gloves so you could work out some of the rage, some of the stuff there, you knew you were mature enough to understand you had to do something. And what you said, I cannot imagine what these children go through who have no preparation in life, no life skills to even understand what's happening to them. And what normal really is. You and I and other adults that have to go through these, we have a baseline of normal. We've been through ups and downs in life. We have a perspective. These kids aren't even, in some cases, haven't even gone through puberty yet. And they're attacking their body with these incredibly powerful drugs. And then you wonder, so then people say, and you see it, and please, this is anecdotal, and I'm not trying to make a comment about the entire trans community. I'm nowhere near to it, but you can see in some cases, even in what the postings are from some of these kids on social media. You guys, why are they so angry? Why are they so, I'm talking about deeply angry and raging. And as soon as I started understanding what was happening, I said, I understand why they're so angry. I know why they're so angry. The ones that are taking some of these drugs. I know why they are so enraged. I know part of it anyway. Tony, quickly, I'm going to give you the last word.
Listen, all I want to say to you is continue to be healthy and God bless you. I love you. Ditto.
Tony, love right back to you. Thank you for your call. Folks, people that have experienced this are talking about it from a place of inner knowledge about it. That's all. I'm not trying to present myself as some kind of expert, but I do understand some things from the personal experience. Our number uno in the can. Our number duo coming up. What's our number duo? We will have with us America's news anchorette supremo, Lizzie Radabali, will be joining us coming up later in the program. Princess Diana will join us. Later in the program, America's small caffeinated mom, Rhonda Schrock, will join us. Later in the program, your calls will join us. If you're on hold, stay on hold. 800-848-9222. We have a lot more to discuss, things happening in the political world, America's cultural world, all of that, and whatever you want to talk about here. The Saturday Morning Vibe continues. Whatever you do, don't go away. Stay right here with us.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome, my friends, our number duo, Saturday Morning Vibe. You know what time it is when our number duo comes. It's time to check in with News Anchorette Supremo, the voice of her generation and others. The star of Red Apple Audio Network's news, our very own Lizzie Radabali. Lizzie, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Bo. I'm doing excellent. I'm doing incredible. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Lizzie, you have any big plans for the Labor Day weekend?
Labor Day, I'm just trying to maybe go to a barbecue. I don't know, though. Everyone's off. Maybe I'll go to the movies. I don't know. It's a good movie
day. Wait a minute. Lizzie.
What?
Lizzie.
What?
This is the weekend where American workers, the working men and women are celebrated. The downtrodden workers that belong to unions. You heard what Trump did, right?
Well, what do you want me to do? Go down to Harlan, Kentucky and just I don't know, start singing "Which Side Are You On"? That's one way to celebrate Labor Day, I guess.
That might be a good idea. You heard what Trump did, right?
No, well, he does a lot of things. Cue me in on what particular thing you're talking about.
I'm talking. I know you're busy doing news, so you don't hear the stuff that's going on. But I talked about this yesterday and today. So Donald Trump yesterday, Thursday, he issued the proclamation, presidential proclamation for Labor Day, big day's coming up. And then right after that, he signed a new executive order that, you have to consider the source in this. Government executive is the source, where they say he targeted unions. I don't know about targeting, but he targeted unions at more than half a dozen government agencies, published within minutes of Trump's proclamation marking Monday's Labor Day holiday. It appends an edict that basically it outlaws collective bargaining for 2/3 of the federal workforce. It says, so bans collective bargaining at International Trade Administration and patent trademark offices within the Commerce Department, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's National Environmental Satellite Data and Information Service. Who knows even what these government people do? The national, as well as some, and the U.S. Agency for Global Media. This is the first time I've ever heard of that bunch.
I think that is the one who does, they do the Radio Free, like Europe. They run like they run a lot of international programs.
So no unions for you, no government unions.
Yeah,
I think that's a great way to celebrate Labor Day. I thought it was great.
I think that's a little bit, I don't know. Labor Day, it's Labor Day is a celebration of workers and unions because, that is what, established the 8-hour and 5-day work week.
Yeah, that was back it's over a century and a half ago.
Yeah.
We did that.
We're going backwards.
Thank you.
I don't know. We're going backwards now. We're
going
sliding
forwards.
I don't know. We're sliding for the workers, at least. For me, I don't know. Progress elsewhere, you take some, you win some, you lose some, but workers, we're downtrodden. I don't think the union busting is a good thing. I think, especially even in the federal government, I mean, if you want to argue that, they're overpaid bureaucrats and what have yous, the union, though, is a way to monitor that and make sure that they're not,
Monitor?
Yeah, yes, the union.
Monitor what?
Monitor that there is no, exploitation at the top, that there's no...
please.
No, because that's...
Government workers, come on, Lizzie. Government workers make out like bandits. What are you talking about?
But the bandits are always at the top, and they're most likely, not the part of the union, actual workforce, the blue-collar people. That's not who is, really going to be...
Lizzie, blue-collar government workers? What are you saying here?
They exist.
We're not talking about... Lizzie, now, I understand that there are some blue-collar jobs in government. I'm not saying they're not, but really?
Yes, exactly. There are, like you just said, there are blue-collar jobs within government.
There are some.
And those people need protection. They need to have health care. They're doing important work.
They get health care. Nobody's talking about taking away their health care.
Unions
the growth of unions, the biggest growth in unions is government at all levels of government, state, local, federal. And the big hero of the Democrat Party, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was one of those who understood this and just said, this is not appropriate. The government should not be a place for unions. Basically, it is anti. It's anyway. I don't want to get distracted.
FDR also gave millions jobs with government programs.
He also threw a bunch of Japanese people in concentration camps.
Yeah, that's true. He's not my hero. You just say
okay. Well, just saying.
I'm just saying, and we all are just saying here.
We're just.
We're all just saying.
Speaking of workers, you sent me a story, Lizzie. This Connecticut guy flips. He's talking about company values, and then he...
Yeah, this story is crazy. I mentioned Harlan in the top of this segment, and yeah, this story comes from Kentucky. So the workers, man, they just get down and dirty in Kentucky. So what happened here is a Kentucky man allegedly flipped over multiple cars and vehicles with a skid loader. That's a giant construction vehicle. And what really happened, we need a story time on TikTok or something from this guy, because this 76-year-old, he's facing now multiple charges because he got in some tiff with with his boss apparently, and the CEO of this company described him as a person in rage, and apparently he didn't agree with the company's views and values. Now, I don't really like how vague this reporting is. Everything, it said, got out of hand, and he doesn't agree with the company's views and values. What exactly happened? How do you get to the point? How do you get so mad over someone else's views that you hop in a vehicle and you flip over several cars? He even tried going towards someone else's house in this vehicle, but then the person whose house it was came outside with a gun and started firing. This is like an insane scene. This is just like, I'm picturing it in my head. I see the footage so clearly, but I don't know the lead up. I'm really in the dark there. I want to know what was the drama. I need this 76-year-old to get on TikTok and do a story time or something.
Absolutely. And while he's on TikTok, he might run into Jordan Hudson.
Yeah, Jordan Hudson. She's a piece of work, honestly. Right now, Jordan Hudson, those who don't know, that is the 24-year-old girlfriend of 73-year-old former coach of the Patriots. Bill
Nothing
Belichick.
wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. It's diversity. It's inclusion.
Sure. Sure, that's diversity. Now, Jordan Hudson, the genius that she is now trying to trademark the term gold digger. You know, when you're a 24-year-old dating a 73-year-old, that's a phrase that's going to be used, especially a guy like Bill Belichick has several Super Bowls under his belt. He's a notorious figure, and she met him actually.
Apparently he has something else under his belt too.
And, you know, I want to say, I'm not a legal expert in intellectual property or anything like that, but I did take one college course on communication law and trademarks. There's one feature that you need to have in order to trademark a term, and it needs to be a distinctive word. So there's 4 levels to this distinctiveness. There's fanciful. That's a made-up term. That's companies like Kodak. There's arbitrary. That's a word that could describe something else, but it's actually for a company that has nothing to do with it, like Apple. And then there's suggestive, like Citibank, obviously it's a bank in a city. And then last but not least is descriptive, and that's a generic term that cannot be trademarked. In this case, I think it does fall under the descriptive category. I don't think there's anything suggestive. What does she want to do with this term gold digger, by the way? She wants to sell jewelry and keychains.
They're saying that the reason why she's trying to trademark gold digger is because grave robber was already trademarked. Huh? Come on, anybody? Come on.
Oh!
Anyone?
Oh!
That is true. You cannot trademark.
You guys are so mean.
You cannot
what is wrong with
term.
Wait, both of you. What in the world could be wrong with a man? How did you say how old Bill Belichick is?
73 years old.
He's 73 years old. What's wrong with this? What's wrong with this 73-year-old man seeking love and happiness and finding his soulmate? Even if what does age matter when it comes up against the love that these two people must share with each other?
I don't know. It's just like the people falling in love with the AI chatbots. I mean, what do you?
So now you're comparing poor Bill Belichick
to these losers
an AI
robots.
chat
Because
for a robot.
Yeah, because come on, man, like no way, this is not.
What do you mean, no way?
I'm just not buying the genuine connection. I think that she's a smart girl. Like I won't say that. I don't think that she's clearly very calculated, and she met him at a book signing, and she
love at first sight, love at first sign.
Well, love doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
What do they talk about on a regular basis?
Yeah, that's
a wing
really
T offense. Like what could they possibly have in common?
I really want to know. No, seriously.
What could they possibly have in common?
Yeah.
There's a very easy answer for that, Kevin. You're a dude. Don't you know?
Get your mind out of the gutter there, Bo. I'm saying, like, you can't base the entire relationship off of that. You at least have to be able
not?
to
People do it every day.
And have dinner with the person.
People do it every day. What do you mean you can't base a relationship off that? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm just trying to keep it real.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not buying the love
this
there.
Age discrimination.
I don't think it's discrimination because who's saying that who's in the wrong? Is she in the wrong for exploiting him? Is he in the wrong for
exploiting him?
Yeah, that's something that people argue that she's taking advantage that he's an older guy, he's divorced, and now she's a young pretty thing, and she comes along and just sweeps him off his feet. Pretty easy for her, not probably a hard task to impress 73-year-old as a 24-year-old.
Yes, well, okay, we have that. Kelvin, look in the library, please. I have a song I would like to dedicate to Lizzie and to Kevin right now that explains this. Bill Withers is it. Bill Withers, the name of the song. Hold on, I'm going to just tell him. Use Me. Just play it. Use Me by Bill Withers. This explains it. We got to go to a break, folks.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden and Snerdley with you. Let us get back to the telephones. People are waiting, and I thank you for your patience at 800-848-9222. Bonnie in New Jersey has been waiting. Bonnie, how are you this morning?
I'm fine, James. James, I have coined a word of encouragement for our hard-working president on this beautiful Labor Day.
And what is that word?
Okay, I wanted to share this word for the first time with your ears and with Lady Di's ears. And the word is Trump-mendous.
Trump-mendous.
President Trump is doing a tremendous job against crime, with law and order, against illegals and the open borders, and the high prices of gas. He's for school vouchers and for the excellence of education for every American student. And I would like to know, James, what do you and Lady Di think of this word?
I happen to love it. When Lady Di comes on, I will ask her about it, or I know Lady Di's out there listening. Maybe she'll comment on it. I happen to love it. I think it's a great word, Trump-mendous. I continue to say that we have not seen a president like this ever in our lifetimes. Those of us that have been following politics, he is redefining the presidency, and to me, it goes even beyond what was usually discussed pre-Watergate. Those old enough to remember Watergate, I'm among them, and remember the turmoil that this nation was in, will also remember that after the Watergate, they got the press basically, and he did some of it to himself, but they hounded Richard Nixon out of office, made sure that he resigned. It was first time President resigned, and it was also interesting because We had Spiro Agnew his vice president had already been tossed out. So we had Gerald Ford in, who was not elected vice president. When Nixon left, we had an unelected president pretty much for the remainder of that term. Anyway, that began this age of the scandals. That's why everything, for you youngsters now, the scandals, whatever it is Pizzagate, this gate, that gate, Russia Gate, everything Gate after Watergate, because that was a scandal that led to the downfall of an American president. And the mainstream press, the Democrats and liberals have been trying to gate Republican presidents out of office ever since. But I say all that to say this. It changed the nature of the presidency. Congress began to slowly assert itself more over the executive branch. It was what many in the political sphere call the death of the imperial president, the powerful presidency. Trump has not only brought back the imperial presidency, he's taken it to a level that many of us have not seen before. And so that is Trump-mendous. And he continues every day, every single day. There's something else coming out of this administration that is defining the power of the presidency in ways that most of us have never seen. James Golden, Snerdley, 800-848-9222. Whatever you do, keep it right here. Saturday Morning Vibe. Do not go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, on Protecting Your Future this week, this is directed, well, it's directed toward the younger set in our audience, but it does impact everybody. And you'll hear why some of these things that some of us have come up believing. And so I'm choosing this week an article that I found, an essay by Vivian Tu. She's a contributor over at CNBC. And the headline is, I became a millionaire at age 27. And these are, she says, these are some common money tips that need to die because they keep people broke. And so she says that older rich people aren't entering the job market now. They're not starting from scratch. That makes a huge difference. She's talking to younger folks that felt like the deck has been stacked against them. Now, for background, Vivian was a former Wall Street trader. She founded a company called Your Rich BFF and the author of Rich AF. She made her first million when she was age 27, the first one. So she offers 4 tips she says need to go away to protect your financial future. First tip, she says that especially young people are told, just switch careers to make more money. If a person grew up in a blue-collar family in Appalachia, moved to a mid-sized city after school or work, what is exactly their path to, say, working in Georgia? They don't know anybody in computer programming. They don't live near a company where they can intern. Even if they got their degree or boot camp certification, how are they going to get their resume in the door? They're not. Google is going to hire one of the zillion people in their current referral chain. The paper salesman is going to be reluctant to up and leave their family, friends, and that cute receptionist at work just to get a better job, even though they could stand to earn more money. She says this, jobs aren't just about paychecks. They're cultural, they're local, and they shape our identity. So just switching careers, that's not the answer. Number 2, another tip that youngsters are told all the time, that she says, throw these out. They're not going to help you protect, well, I'm saying protect your future, but that's the point. Just find a cheaper place to live. Get roommates. First of all, what cheaper place? Housing prices have jumped a ton, even if you're renting. Higher overall prices for landlords means higher rent payments for you. And that's assuming you're in good enough shape to pass the credit check, have a job with the pay stub, and you're not given the runaround by some shady real estate brokers. The most important of all is that home ownership has long been the bedrock of middle-class wealth building, the most expensive investment a person makes, and the one that they can count on to fund stability into retirement. Telling young people to find a cheaper place is steering us away from the fundamental vehicle used to amass wealth. Plus, changing where and with whom you live comes with emotional and physical trade-offs that some people are just not willing to make. Finally, who's to say I don't already have roommates? Literally, almost 1 in 10 young people lives completely solo. The rest are already bunking with roomies, partners, spouses, or yes, even their parents. 1 in 3 adults still lives at home. Wow. Okay. The third thing that she says, financial tips, throw these out the window, is that you should spend less on lattes and avocado toast. Just spend less on the little delights. Short-term small expenses aren't keeping us from our goals the way most financial gurus want you to think they are. You might think about buying a house or paying off your student loans and like, F it, I'm never going to be able to afford all that stuff anyway, so at least I'm going to have a nice brunch once in a while. And that, she says, is a pretty valid response. But the reason so many expenses these days feel so much more out of reach than what we've been taught they should be is because they are. Thanks to inflation. This conniving force of darkness is pretty simple at a basic level. Inflation refers to the gradual increase of prices over time. The problem comes when it gets out of hand, when average prices go up faster than the wages are going up. And she makes that whole argument, but she says it's not just cutting the little expenses, the little things. And finally, she says the last tip that young people hear that is detrimental to them building up their financial future is just relax. Money can't buy happiness. And she says to that, the idea that money can't buy happiness, false. So false. Falser than you even think. Back in 2010, a famous study concluded that people's happiness increased lockstep with their income. But that only goes up to around $75,000 a year. After that, it leveled off. People love to throw this factoid around. It essentially meant money could buy happiness because it provided basic necessities, stability, but also that billionaires weren't happier than the rest of us. Well, I hate to break it to you, but a new study in 2021 found that $75,000 figure is absolute baloney, even when adjusted for inflation. It turns out happiness continues to increase well past that threshold. But just relax ignores our lived reality. The years in which we come of age have seen a slew of cataclysmic events that destabilized markets. 9/11, the Iraq War, the 2008 housing crisis, Brexit, COVID-19, January 6th insurrection. How does that affect anybody's life? I call BS on that one. The FTX fiasco and the 2023 collapse of major and regional national banks, just to name a few. Anybody born in the 1990s upwards lived through collective traumas, economic and otherwise. Call us, she's speaking of that generation, coddled or sensitive snowflakes or whatever, but we've been taught about how the market works. What we've been taught about how the market works doesn't match our lived reality about how the market actually works. It's okay to be a little spooked. It's okay to be unsure. And it's also okay to want to have money. And that is the point that I want to pick up. It is, and let me rephrase that for it. It is okay to actively want to achieve and to achieve great things. It is really okay. And so much of that has been coddled in this idea that being successful is negative, and it's not. Now, of course, one of the things that goes into that is your principles. Should you sacrifice your principles for? No. Should you sacrifice being a good, ethical human being just to obtain those things? No. To obtain those things? No. But and this is something that you see reflected in countless ways in social media and everything else. It's somehow there's something wrong with being hugely successful. You hear these attacks, or now it used to be the millionaire class, now it's the billionaire class, and you hear people raging against it all the time. Not helpful, negative attitudes. And especially this negative projection that if you're in America, you cannot succeed. And all of that is dead wrong. People still are succeeding in many, many ways. In fact, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to play for you one of the things I found on social media this week from a young woman about being successful and this attitude that I'm talking about, that it can no longer be done.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Several parents are waking up in the Birmingham City jail this morning after police say they encouraged a fight between their kids. Police say the fight happened yesterday at the Tom Brown housing community on 5th Court North. It involved Hayes Middle School students. The 4 adults you see here on the screen were all arrested. They're charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Tiara Williams there on the left faces an additional charge of child endangerment.
Yeah. Parents. This is a blue city in a red state. 4 parents arrested making their kids fight in a fight club. Blue city, red state. Tomorrow's the anniversary of the release of this one. It's Fleetwood Mac, of course. This was from their 14th studio album, Tango in the Night. Christine McVie and her then husband, Eddie Quintella, wrote this one. Went up to number 4 on Billboard's Hot 100. Went up to number 5 over in the UK. And it was their last top 10 hit in America, Fleetwood Mac. James Golden, Snerdley. Now, I mentioned before the break that I wanted you to hear the voices. We were talking about these negative voices coming from young people about their own future. I found an example of that on social media this week. Listen to this.
I have come to realize my mental illness is America. America is my mental illness, my depression, my anxiety, my hopelessness, my want and desire to just give up and say, F it all, my anxieties, America. Because the minute I want to start living life and be excited to live life and get out of here and get a new job and want to do all these things, wait, where do I live? America. The job market's down, unemployment rates are up. Everything's just spiraling along with this. I want to get out of here. I want to start actually living my life and be excited to live life, but I can't do that here in America. It's all just, it feels like I waited too long now at this point to try and make life better, to try and get excited to live life, to try and get re-inspired to try and like actually chase the things I want to do, it feels like the clock has run out on that, because every day America is becoming more and more of a black hole, and so is my mind. That's that. The crash out is real. At this point, like, America.
The crash out is real. Real. I know, I'm not trying to mock this girl. This is unfortunate. And so many misconceptions and, by the way, misinformation. No, unemployment is not going up. No, the job market is not spiraling down. All of those things are not true. But she believes they are. She believes the reason that she cannot succeed is because of external forces. Nothing of her internal force. You know, even if the job market were down, even if unemployment was rising, even if all of these other things were happening in society, nothing stops you from achieving. I remember one of the things Rush used to say all the time. People back then was still, it's the same talk. It cycles over and over again. People complaining about, there's a recession. There's going to be a recession. There's going to be inflation. And he said, he would tell people who are worried about recession. Well, there is a recession. Don't participate in it. You have a choice. If there's a recession, you don't have to participate in it. You can still achieve better things in your life if that's what you want to do. When there's a recession, everybody's not affected by that recession. Some people in fact, become millionaires, multimillionaires, start new companies that do extremely well in recessions because they have that inner motivation to do well. And I just think it's so almost depressing to me to hear young people giving up on their lives before they're really begun. What young person, and you know, I love working with the young people that I work with here, because looking at it from my point of view, you know what's going to happen, not in detail, but you know. Some of these, they're going to go through ups. They're going to go through downs. They're going to go through successes. Some of them will have those successes crash. And the strong ones, after they go through crashes, will pick themselves back up and go through another period of amazing success. And then they may have other periods and after a while, after you go through these cycles in life, what you learn is that the up and downs happen. But the thing that will consistently pull you through, well, those of you who have spiritual underpinnings know what will pull you through. You know that. But if you maintain a belief in yourself, and as you gain maturity, you learn not to take things as seriously. So when you go through crashes, you learn it may seem bad at the moment. It's not the end of the world. You learn sometimes that even when things crash out, what opens because of the crash that you've gone through is a bigger blessing than you could have ever anticipated. You couldn't see it. And you had to go through the crash to get to that place where you could see it. So it's just really hard for me to listen to young kids who've given up on themselves already before they even try. I want to grab a quick telephone call. Mary Beth is calling from Long Island, New York. Mary Beth, how are you this morning? Mary Beth, are you with us or has she gone? I'm not hearing Mary Beth. Mary Beth, if we had some problem with the phone, get back to me. 800-848-9222. Well, you know, as we get ready to close this hour out, we're going to be talking a few other things with Princess Di. I want to just highlight, so I don't watch tennis that often. But I just want to praise somebody for her classiness. That is American tennis player Taylor Townsend. Cut 15. There was some tennis match, U.S. Open. She beat a woman, Latvina Jela-Ostapenko. I hope I have the name right. As I say, I'm not a frequent watcher. But afterwards, boy, it got heated on the tennis court. And this was after that heated, she was interviewed, American Taylor Townsend, asking what happened, and this is what she said.
Taylor, congratulations. Fiery match start to finish. We'll get to it all. Can you fill us in on the conversation you were having with Yelena out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's competition. People get upset when they lose, and some people say bad things. She told me I have no class, I have no education, and to see what happens when we get outside the U.S. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I beat her in Canada outside the U.S. I beat her in New York outside the U.S. So let's see what else she has to say.
You were down 5.
Yeah. You know what? The press was trying to make this a racial thing. Because Latina Jelena is white and Taylor Townsend is black. Taylor didn't take the bait. In fact, someone asked her, she said, no, it's not that. She didn't take the bait. And she handled it with the class that her opponent said she didn't have. Hats off to you. James Golden, Snerdley, hour number duo in the can. Hour number trio coming up. Fastest 3 hours in American media continues. Don't go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And you know what? There's going to be a lot more of that coming up. Especially at these religious areas, hey, we've had enough of your kind coming after public schools, right? It's about time, churches and Catholic schools and religious schools, it's about time they get their turn. That's what I think. I'm just going to sit back and watch people do it. And I'm going to laugh. I'm laughing about yesterday. You guys want to laugh about us? We're going to laugh about you.
Hour number trio underway here. Saturday Morning Vibe. Welcome, my friends. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, for the Ness of all Nesses.
It's time for Radio Royalty with James Golden and America's Princess of Policy, Princess Di.
Her highness, her goodness, her loveliness in the houseness. Princess Diana, welcome. How are you this Saturday-ness morning?
Oh, so wonderful, James, to hear your voice as always. I should say Sir Jamesness.
Mm-hmm. Well, what a week this has been. It has been a week of emotions, a week of, in some cases, frustration. I am never, Princess, I'm floored by some of the things I've heard with these open attacks from people like Biden's former press gal, Jen Psaki, and the mayor. And I cut the mayor a little bit of slack. Because I can't even imagine having to go out in front of cameras after what the horrific horror story that unfolded in Minneapolis. But even his remarks were just, to me, I don't understand how anybody in this world could actually denounce people praying and wanting to pray for those who are suffering greatly and people thinking about them. I don't understand this attack on these people. I know this is not what we were scheduled to talk about, but Diana, this just still blows my mind.
I am agreeing with you wholeheartedly. However, it is not new to the Democrat Party and to the left. As you know, there's a long history in their conventions of booing God and wanting to remove God from the public life on the left and in the Democrat Party, and it is increasingly open. And so they say these things because they believe these things. They hate prayer. They blame the victims. And in this case, you know, their political enemies were actually victimized, and they had to reverse exactly what happened. And so the left and the Democrat Party is defending the trans movement and victimizing and criticizing and degrading prayer, even though those who were killed and wounded were praying, who were Christians. And so that is what we are seeing, an unmasked. In my opinion, this is the communist movement. I am saying that flat out, which is taking over the Democrat Party. And if you remember growing up, that was one of the phrases that was commonly used, was godless communism. And this particular philosophy always and every time it's tried, tries to remove God. And so this is what we're seeing.
It is just I don't know. How do you see this in terms of where America is going, as what used to be cultural norms are now shattered? How do you see this moving forward in the future?
Well, there's a reason the Democrat Party is at a, 20%, 17% approval rating. This, communist takeover of the Democrat Party is not going over well with the vast majority of Americans. And so that's where I see it going. I see absolutely that they are, politically going to be set back tremendously. They're going to lose political power. It's happening. We've talked about this in the redistricting fight. And, you don't want to put it in political terms, but that is the result of when a party goes down the wrong path and the public is not there. The public is not on their side on this. The public prays. And that is the result. Anytime there is, when we go through the shadow of death from the Psalms, we look to the Lord. And that is something in our history, and it will always be as long as there is an America. Wow.
Now, one of the things we said, you mentioned that you wanted to speak with us this morning about is Trump maximizing presidential powers. And why don't you start from that point and tell us what you mean by that?
Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to your caller who coined the term Trump-mendous, which in my opinion is the perfect word for what we are seeing. I have been noticing, as you talked about, that Trump is maximizing presidential powers, which is putting the left and the Democrat Party in a complete uproar. And so we are watching history. And one of the things we need to do when we're alive is pay attention to the big things that are happening. It's very hard because we see these small stories and the news is full of chaos and details. We don't know how to really put it in perspective. But what we're seeing is, as you said, it is the reestablishment of the original constitutional power of the presidency, which was thwarted after Eisenhower with Watergate. You and I have talked about that before. I had sent you that piece in February by Seth Levy where Trump fulfills the stolen promise of Nixon's second term. And a lot of the things that Trump is doing is reasserting the power of the presidency that comes out of our founding documents. And the left has no idea how to handle it. And two of the stories that happened this week sort of go to that big picture. I was sort of keyed by this idea when I saw a column in the Washington Post by Jason Willick, who's a columnist there. Why is Trump so much more powerful this time? And so he does an analysis, and it's actually pretty straightforward, and I think he had, some good analysis, but the results on the Washington Post website, thousands of people are furious because he told the truth, basically. There are 4 reasons he put out. The Democrats are a mess. The Republicans are strong. The prosecutions of Trump they can't use the same arguments that they tried. And 4th, the Supreme Court, because of Trump's appointments. And so those are 4 legitimate reasons. Also, I don't know if you've seen that New York Times visual map of the voter shift toward President Trump and the voter shift towards Democrats. Have you seen that? There's 2 maps.
I did.
One with with arrows on the voter shift towards Trump. It's all in red. The whole map is red. Everywhere in the country, even states that voted for Kamala, made a move among their voters more rightward, more conservative. And then the map of this is where voters shifted toward Democrats with tiny little blue arrows, hardly anywhere in the country. So that is the answer to the question. Trump has the political support of the country, and that is where political power comes from in America. And so he is legitimately moving forward to expand the powers of the presidency. And 2 of those stories are really appropriate to talk about. One, his firing of Lisa Cook, who is a federal governor, what's called a governor, one of 7 on the board of governors, and for mortgage fraud. And the second story is the tariff ruling by the U.S. Appeals Court. And the way Reuters explains this, the decision comes as a legal fight over the independence of the Federal Reserve seems bound for the Supreme Court, setting up an unprecedented legal showdown this year over Trump's entire economic policy. So this court ruling, I just wanted to reassure people from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, which was a 7-4 ruling against Trump, basically saying his tariffs are illegal. That court has been, over time, reversed 70% of the time by the Supreme Court. And so it is very much likely to be reversed on an emergency basis. And Trump is right in his Truth Social post that basically the Supreme Court will recognize that this is a power of the presidency that he is using. And the Federal Reserve, he is using a clause that allows him to fire a governor for cause. And she actually has given cause. And so basically, I have to say that one of the responses of the left by a columnist in the Washington Post, here's the title of her article: "Some mortgage fraud is inevitable." I mean, she says that the situation, she kind of is mad that Lisa Cook has put the whole country in a bind because she did this bad thing, which she basically, according to public records, did assert that she had a primary residence in Atlanta and she also had a primary residence in Michigan. Within 2 weeks, she asserted that, which is blatantly illegal.
I'm going to tell you what, Princess Di, I'm going to stop right there because I want to take a break. I want you to hear CNN's Ellie Honig go right to the point that you just raised. Because you know the way that this is being cast. Trump's a racist. The first black woman to ever sit on the Federal Reserve, and that's the one that Donald Trump picks off. That's the one. And to me, it shows the exact opposite. You know what we finally have? We finally have somebody in the Republican Party that's colorblind to the point that they're not going to sit down and ignore things because the person happens to be black.
Right.
That's the exact opposite of racism. He treats everybody equally. Anyway, James Golden, Snerdley, MJ. You know, MJ's birthday was yesterday. And Bad was released, I think this weekend it is. Pre-order of albums, the largest one tomorrow. in history. 2.25 million copies were pre-ordered of Bad back in 1987. Princess Di is here. James Golden. Snerdley. Saturday morning. Vibe. I've never understood what he's been saying, and I never understood a word of this. I never understood. Yeah, whatever. It's still a great record. James Golden, Snerdley. Don't go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Tomorrow is the anniversary of George Harrison being found guilty of subconscious plagiarism for the Ronnie Mac song, He's So Fine, when he released this one, My Sweet Lord. Earnings from My Sweet Lord were awarded to the Mac estate. The Chiffons, who had, of course, originally recorded this, then recorded their own version of this, My Sweet Lord. George Harrison. He was an amazing man. There's a documentary on him that is so worth watching. James Golden, Princess Di is here with us. Princess, I mentioned before we left the break that CNN, of all places, Ellie Honig, talked about the exact thing you were talking about. What is behind this firing of Lisa Cook? And this is how he described it.
Two things appear to be true at the same time. One, it seems quite clear that Donald Trump and Bill Pulte, who's the head of this housing finance agency, have targeted Lisa Cook. They want to remove her from the Fed because they don't like what the Fed is doing on interest rates. That seems quite clear from the public statements of Donald Trump and Bill Pulte. It also is true that there is some suspicious activity here that's really problematic by Lisa Cook. Let me just sort of try to bottom line it. There's 3 properties, okay? Within a 2-week stretch, she gets a mortgage on a place in Michigan and says that's her principal residence. 2 weeks later, she gets a mortgage on a place in Atlanta in Georgia and says that's her primary residence. And now there's a third place in Cambridge that she said was her secondary residence, but she's actually renting it out. Now, why would someone do all this? Because you get better interest rates, because you get better tax benefits. That can be worth tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Thus far, and I find this really notable, in the briefs that have been submitted by Lisa Cook's lawyers. She was the plaintiff here. She filed the opening brief. No explanation of what she did, how this happened. There's some reference to maybe it's a clerical error. Today, in court, Abby Lowell, very good lawyer, again, no explanation of how this happened. And the claim that this might be clerical error or just a mistake, that's not going to fly because Lisa Cook is one of the most established, accomplished financial and economic experts in this country. And this is not just like any old person. Look, when you do a mortgage, there's all sorts of paperwork flying and terms, and maybe you can get confused or lost. I don't know if you're going to buy that from Lisa Cook. But the bottom line question, as Caitlin just said, is who has to show what here? I think that the allegations on their face could be enough for a judge to say, look, I'm going to defer to the president on cause.
What do you think, Princess?
Well, I think he's absolutely right. And I think the interesting thing is the Federal Reserve has had multiple resignations for problems like this. And it is never put in context when any of this has been reported by the mainstream media. There were 3 under the Biden administration, Robert Kaplan, Eric Rosenbrandt, Richard Clarita, who resigned due to insider trading in 2021 and 22. Have you heard this mentioned?
Not in the reporting, no.
Not in the reporting. And also, on August 1st, just this month, there was a resignation in the Federal Reserve, Adriana Kugler, who was, believe it or not, it is not mentioned in many of the reporting, that she was the first Hispanic Fed governor. And she resigned. And there was absolutely no coverage with this latest controversy, bringing into context the previous problems. Now, there was no reason given for her resignation. She actually departed on August 8th, and she went back, but she didn't finish her term. She went back to Georgetown. And so this idea that this Lisa Cook firing, of course, it is unusual for the president to, but the pressure was put on her before he actually fired her in a letter to her. And the pressure was put on her, and I'm going to say that one can assume the pressure was put on the three who resigned under Biden and probably by Jerome Powell. So this idea that this is just unprecedented, unheard of, how can it happen? And no one mentions there's another African-American vice chair of the Federal Reserve who was put on the federal board by Biden. He was African-American, Philip Jefferson. So this idea that this is some kind of racial thing is just typical Democrat lies.
Wow. Princess Di, please hold on. When we get back, I want to talk about what's going on in Tejas and beyond, because it is heating up. I mentioned earlier, Missouri is now talking about special sessions to do look at their maps, and in the New York Times declaring victory for the Texas Democrats. They're victorious. So we'll deal with all of that when we return, which will be just momentarily, folks. If you're on hold, stay on hold. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. Princess Di is in the house. Coming up later this hour, America's Small Caffeinated Mom, Rhonda Schrock, will join us. Whatever you do, keep it right there. The Saturday morning vibe continues.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Okay, talking about bending and shaping, I didn't realize this until I read the New York Times today. The Texas Democrats workout, won. They won. They worked. It worked. It was successful.
Yes, this is some spin, isn't it? The New York Times article is really hilarious all the way through. And the reason is that this walkout by the Democrats in the state of Texas, which just actually resulted in the governor signing the redistricting that they were supposedly fighting. The reasoning in the New York Times is because they lost loudly. That this was a success. They brought attention to this fight, and it was just going to go ahead without any fight. But because they lost loudly, they got, media attention. And so, my question is, okay, what can you say about someone who loses loudly? They lost. And so this is not a win by any chance. And the author is basically comparing this 2-week, escape to another state that had redistricting by Democrats, was basically comparing it to Selma and to the great civil rights fights of the past and other political movements. And, to put the 2-week vacation that they went on to Illinois mostly in that kind of category is just, fictional thinking. But let them think that. Let them think they're winning. In the meantime, they're losing everywhere.
I just love it, Princess Di. Well, I wanted to get that in because now, of course, Missouri, I'm not expecting too much. They may pick up 1 seat in Missouri, but every seat counts. And there are some other states here. So California, Newsom can do all this posing that he wants to. But they're not going to be able to if just all we need are 3 or 4 other Republican states to say yeah. And each one, if they produce 2, 3, 4 seats, it's 1 in some cases. The Democrats are done.
The Florida one, the potential Florida map, where Republicans have 20 representatives and Democrats have 8. The new map has Republicans having 24 and Democrats having 4. So
love it.
Significant.
That would be, yes, your governor there. Your favorite governor. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, this is the legislature. This isn't the governor.
Yes, but still, I mean, the governor has put his name forward and supported the idea. You can't deny that. Mm-hmm. Your favorite governor. All right, Princess Di, thank you. I want to grab a few calls while we have a minute here. Thank you so much for spending this time with us, Princess Di.
Thank you, as always, Sir James. It's always wonderful.
Oh, such a pleasure. Thank you. Let's head to Denver and catch up with Joan. Good morning, Joan. How are you?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I hear you just fine, Joan.
I've never called before, and I have to tell you that the radio has sometimes been really a friend of mine, and I've been recovering from chemotherapy, and so I have extreme fatigue. And I was sleeping, and I woke up in the middle of your last segment in the second hour, okay? Mm-hmm. And it really struck me in ways that you can't even imagine about how you can have something terrible happen, like my chemotherapy and stuff, and still come through with some really bright things. And I have to say that this taking down of thoughts and prayers has struck me really hard, because I don't think I would have made it the last 6 months without the thoughts and prayers of all the people that are in my life.
Wow, that is so powerful. Number one, we pray, all of us, for your complete recovery and for your health, not just your physical health, but your emotional and spiritual health as well, Joan. And those thoughts and prayers will be with you from us. And there are often blessings inside these things that we can't see clearly at a time. And so I cannot tell you how much we appreciate hearing from you. I do. And all of us. And just thank you for taking the time to call us and let us know and to share those thoughts with us. And God bless you, Joan. God bless you, and for your recovery.
Thank you. And, you know, I don't think that you realize how fun your vibes are on Saturday, and I wish that they would go to the third hour here in Denver. They don't. And sometimes you're just a lifeline. So
my God,
keep it fun and keep out there and let the world know that Trump isn't going to be defeated. We're not going to be defeated, and we have God.
And you are not going to be defeated, Joan. Thank you. James Golden, what a beautiful lady.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Right now, time to check in with America's small caffeinated mom, Rhonda Schrock. Good morning, Rhonda. How are you?
Good morning, James. I'm doing well. I just want to thank you right here at the outset for sharing your story. I don't know if I have heard anyone else in the public square talking about the actual effects of these powerful drugs that kids are being given. And I could tell as I looked at comments online that your story was resonating with so many people. It's powerful, James, and it's something that needs to be talked about. So thank you for your courage in doing that. I appreciate that.
Well, I don't know whether courage. But thank you, Rhonda. I'm not going to quibble with it. Thank you. You know, I feel uneasy about making stuff about me. But anyway, but this is real, and it is an issue that really bothers me and concerns me deeply, very deeply.
Yes, as it should. Absolutely.
So what have you got for us this morning, Rhonda? And thank you for that.
Yes, you're welcome. Well, today's essay was inspired by what happened, of course, in Minneapolis, with the ensuing remarks about prayer and about thoughts. And I loved what J.D. Vance said. We pray because our hearts are broken. We pray because we know God listens. We pray because we know that God works in mysterious ways and can inspire us to further action. And I love this truth. Literally no one thinks prayer is a substitute for action. Quote, unquote. I thought that was excellent common sense. It was profound, and he verbalized what millions of people across the country think and believe. What really caught my eye was one line in the news reports that came out after the shooting, and it was something that the murderer had written on one of the magazines. Where is your God? Coming from a murderer, that question was a brazen middle finger, and it was an upraised fist to the Almighty and to everyone who loves him. For other people, that question was a cry from the depths of their broken hearts. Where is our God? Where is God? Where is God? And I wanted to talk about that today. Why? Where is God, and why is he allowing these things to happen? James, I'm not a theologian. I'm not a PhD. I have never been to seminary. I am just one small, ordinary woman who has walked with God for a long time. And this, as I have thought over the years and processed those deep questions, this is what I have come to. There is good and there is evil in this world, and for some reason in his sovereignty, the Almighty God has allowed human beings to make a choice. We can choose if we will follow good, we can choose if we will follow evil, and for whatever reason he allows us to choose. I think maybe that the reason he allows us to choose, because if he took away our power to choose evil, we would have no actual power to choose good. And so all he would have left is robots. I know and have learned and believe that God is a relational being. He longs for relationship and connection with human beings. It's mind-boggling that a perfect God wants to have a relationship with us, and yet he does, because I know, because I have one with him. He allows us to choose him, but with that choice is the knowledge that some will reject him. And it happened to his son, who walked among us here on the earth and was crucified by hate-filled, murderous hearts. Crucified, put to death. If God longs to be loved and to be chosen, we are a reflection of him, made in his image, and this is what I know. We long to be chosen. We long to be loved because we are reflecting his heart. What a precious, precious thought that is, but what a risk, because love can never be demanded. You cannot demand that somebody love you. If you try that, you will get forced compliance that is given grudgingly and angrily. You cannot demand real love, but you can invite it. So when you open your heart to love, you are also opening your heart to the risk of great pain. But back to that question, where is your God? Well, first of all, it was not God that pulled the trigger. It was a human being who chose evil. It was a human being with an evil heart who chose to kill those children. Where is my God? I'll tell you where God is. He is with me. He has been with me all the days of my life, and he will be with me through all the rest of the days of my life. I have experienced suffering at the hands of evil-hearted people, as probably almost everyone within the sound of my voice has. We suffer because people choose evil in a fallen world, and we turn to prayer because prayer is the lifeline, the connector to the source of all love, help, grace, power, courage, wisdom, peace, joy. We access all of those things through prayer. Prayer has not taken away all of my problems. It never will. But I have always found the virtues that I need, the grace, the divine help and inspiration to get through them, because I'm not walking through them alone. Prayer connects me to the source of power and comfort and consolation. So when I say I will pray for you, I am praying all those things on your behalf. that God will be with you in your pain, in your hardship, in your suffering. You should want thousands of people praying for you when you are in crisis. You should want that, because believing people who are praying people can bring down the power from heaven. They can move the hand of God and effect change on the earth. It is also through prayer, James. When I don't know what to do, I pray and I say, show me clearly and simply which way I should go, and the way opens up in front of my feet. What is impossible with humans is possible with God, and we will access that through prayer. To all the naysayers who decry the practice of prayer in our nation's time of need, this is what I say to you. We don't need less prayer. We need far more. And what happened this week in Minneapolis proves it. Through our individual and our collective prayers, we have access to that wisdom that will tell us what to do, and that prayer will instruct our actions. More importantly, and this is the bottom line, sincere prayer will bring a change of heart. And it is a change of heart, not different, better, stricter laws that we need, because when the heart is right and good, the behaviors and actions will be right and good, and God's will be done on earth as it is done in heaven. Only then can our nation prosper and find its way back to peace. One heart, one prayer at a time. That's what I know.
Wow. Rhonda, I continue. First of all, where can people find your essay?
It's on thedailybs.com.
And where do people find you, Rhonda?
RhondaSchrock.com, SCHROCK.
Rhonda, your personal story, which you have shared with us, has been so powerful, and your words here are powerful. People even now are texting me while you were speaking about how spot on you were with your message this morning to people. Mm-hmm. But I just want to know, what if you had an opportunity to speak to the parents of those who have lost their children, not just in Minneapolis, because as I pointed out during the week, this stuff happens every day in America. The news media jumps all over it. People jump all over it when it's one of these incidents of a mass shooting at either a school or a religious place. But just last weekend, there were 2 mass shootings in Los Angeles. And if you go through all these other cities in America, every week there are children being killed. Mm-hmm. There are children dying through violence every single week. Mm-hmm. What brief message would you say to the parents of those who have lost their children?
I tried to put myself in that place, and how I would process that if my son or sons had been killed in those church pews. And this is what I know. Because I know that they have put their faith in God, as have their father and I would grieve, I would be in terrible pain, but it would not be without hope, because I know I would see them again. I know that we will be reunited in heaven one day. So in the depth of grief, I would still have that hope. There is hope in every hard thing.
Thank you, Rhonda, so much. This is Stevie Wonder, folks, from the Fulfilling This First Finale album. We're going to leave you with this today. May God bless all of you, your families, your loved ones. God willing, we'll be back with you. Same time, same place next week.
Thanks for listening to The James Golden Show. You can hear The James Golden Show Saturday mornings at 7. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?